Welcome to day one of season 4 ATX TV Festival. Were any of you guys here 2 years ago for the Boy Meets World reunion? So it's pretty exciting to have them back and also usher in the next generation and some new members to the ATX family. I just want to remind you guys, no video, and no flash photography. And with that, I will welcome them in. So we have Michael Jacobs, who created Boy Meets World. Making his way in. Oh, well, here you go. Robyn Blanchard, Sabrina Carpenter, Ben Savage, and Michael Jacobs.
Hi, guys.
Wait, welcome back.
Ben, pass your mic to her. And then
We can pass it around when you guys want to
there's
talk.
your mic there.
So I was just reminding everyone, we were here 2 years ago for the reunion. At the time, you guys, it was just right before you guys got word that Girl Meets World had been picked up. So now that you're sort of well into season 2, Michael, I'm curious, how's the experience been? Have you learned anything new? Is it very different from the first time around?
Yeah, they're animals. It's been a magnificent experience. We couldn't be more lucky. We have you to thank, frankly, because the audience had a choice to embrace this or to not embrace this. And they did. They trusted it. We introduced you to the girls, which I thought was the most important thing to do in season 1. It was about friendship. You accepted and embraced the girls. You accepted and embraced their friends. And this season is about growth. I think that season 1 was good. I think that we well represented Boy Meets World. I think that it enhances the little legacy that we found out that we had. But I think season 2 is magnificent. The first 5 that aired are we thought, really good and representative of what's to come. But what is to come is magnificent, and I'll let them tell you about it.
Well, before we get to that, this show really is grounded in the friendship, and without that perfect dynamic between these two, you wouldn't have the show, and you wouldn't have the same thing you had with Corey and Sean. Talk about casting Rowan and Sabrina and finding the perfect dynamic between the perfect BFFs.
Okay, so I'm going to start, and then you guys will come in. Said, they said, "Are you going to do all the talking?" I said, "No, I'm not going to say a word." Here's what happened. I called Ben, and I said, "You want to do it again?" And and it was like a cartoon with speed lines. Yes, I want to. And Ben was completely positive and wanted to recreate it, but conditionally. We knew that we were going to be on Disney Channel. Disney Channel had asked. They said, "Do you want to do Boy Meets World again?" I said, "No, it's still on the air, and there's no reason to do it again. We're proud of what we've done." And one of the executives there said, "There's really nothing on TV that did what you guys did. Don't you want to take the chance to do it again?" And I said, "No, but half of my yes." And so we took a night, and I called, and Ben was completely receptive to it. And I called back and I said, "Listen, we don't want to do Boy Meets World again. Sequels are usually not very good unless you're Francis Ford Coppola." But I said, what we would do is, in real time, there's been enough time and travel that Corey and Topanga could have had children. And before I got the sentence out of my mouth, they said, "When could you get here?" And we started the series. Casting was extraordinary. I said, "Ben, come on in." And Ben sat in on all of the casting, and he read with all of the actors. It wasn't going well, because what happened was we wrote a script that it was grounded in reality. Boy Meets World was always grounded in reality. You guys have helped make us understand, how well we did. We didn't know until we announced Girl Meets World. And now, last night I go back to my room. I don't know what time it was, but I turn on the television. 3 episodes of Boy Come. I guess it was ABC Family, and
yeah.
3 episodes. It was ABC Family. You saw-
It was ABC Family, yeah.
yeah,
I saw it.
and it was 3 good episodes. It was that fight between Corey and Topanga, that long, protracted fight. You remember that, Ben? You selling magazines to what was it, Sanasi?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the war, which was my favorite. And so anyway, and then I get up this morning and I put on TV. I cannot get away from him. So what happens is Ben and I are sitting there at Disney Channel and we're casting, and you know Disney Channel tends to cast 14, 15-year-old girls, guys. And I'm listening to him read these lines, and I'm thinking this is a coming-of-age comedy, and the difference between Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World was elucidated in casting, because these 14, 15-year-old girls reading these lines, if I can be blunt, I just felt like, you know, they read the scenes, lit up a cigarette, and discussed their pregnancies. It was just...
On Disney Channel.
way beyond. And I said to Gary Marsh, who runs the network, this is a mistake. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go younger. He said, you go a little younger. I said, I want to go real. I saw one girl, and her name was Rowan Blanchard. And I told her that she was too young.
And then I started to cry.
And I want to see her again. And their casting told me, we have never, and we don't think we would, cast an 11-year-old girl as the lead in a television series. And I just love being told I can't do something. So I brought Rowan back. I read the lines with her, and I had my girl. I just had to make Disney know I had my girl. I had seen Sabrina earlier. She read for both Riley and Maya. And I thought she was a good Riley, but I thought she was a great Maya. When Rowan came in, I had my cast. I put the girls in front of Ben, and Ben has so great. He's their television father, but he is trying to convince them he is their father. And that's how well casting went. Now I'll let you guys talk about your experiences with it.
Yeah. What was the question? Talk about your casting experiences, and did you guys immediately hit it off?
Yeah. When I had met Sabrina, I had read with a few different girls for Maya, and you don't automatically click with anybody. And then when I met Sabrina, it was just kind of like, oh, like we could be friends, because you can only, pretend to be friends with somebody to an extent. And so that's why I'm lucky to have Sabrina, because we're best friends. But no, definitely when we read together, I just knew that like our beats clicked together, and
They
with
also
Ben
told us to go outside and bond. So
they did. No, we went into the room and they just said go outside and bond, and then we talked about Pink Floyd and Judy Garland for like 30 minutes.
As most 12-year-olds.
And Les Miserables.
12-year-olds do. Yeah, no, and then we read together, and I got her number.
I got your number. We texted in the lobby, like we were just waiting, like to hear something, and we were just texting each other, like I see you, and it was. And that's when I knew.
Because we're not creepy at all.
And then after that, it wasn't too long before we heard, and then we called each other and screamed in our
She
ears.
got cast 3 days after they released that I was cast, and I knew that she was going to get cast when I read with her. Like I knew that Michael would cast her because she was just so good.
I was sad.
I knew you were going to get cast. I knew it.
Then what was it like for you? I mean, did you immediately feel like this is my family? And also, Corey and Maya have a really great relationship too. Yeah, they have a very sort of surrogate father relationship going. Did you guys hit it off as well? Did you sort of feel like this is my new family?
Yeah, I think that when we found Rowan and Sabrina, I think to echo what Michael was saying, we wanted girls that were relatable and that were, people that you thought you could be friends with. And I think we found them. I think. But, yeah, I mean, I was really happy with our choices, and I think it's been such a fun journey watching them grow and mature. And I don't know if I look at them as my father, but I want to be like the cool,
He's like the
father
cool
figure.
uncle.
The cool uncle.
said
I
that
like the
over
cool
yesterday.
uncle. No, not
They are sitting
creepy.
here. They are so scared. Last night they were running down the street in Austin, climbing on each other. They are the most wonderful friends. To see them on set is the greatest experience. And now they're being all, we're professional here. We're doing a panel.
This- yes.
Next question.
For Michael, having spin-offs or reboots, a lot of times it's hard to, bring back old faces without leaning too much on the past because you want to, sort of set a future for your new show. But you guys have really seamlessly brought people in and out. How have you struck that balance?
Well, in the first year, I really felt that the audience had to embrace Rowan and Sabrina. They already embraced Corey and Topanga, and the show obviously just will not leave the air. And so what happens is that we knew, Ben knew, Danielle knew, we all knew, if the audience does not embrace these two girls, there is no show. It was as if lightning struck, because the response to the girls' chemistry was so apparent and so quick that I could boot up the process of beginning to introduce them to their previous incarnations. The first thing I wanted was that Maya should get to know Sean Hunter. Because so much was written in the press, we had nothing to do with it. I mean, the press made obvious assumptions that this is the Sean Hunter character, and it's really not so. We're trying to make unique and individual characters, but when two people have a daughter, the daughter will represent and tilt toward one parent perhaps a little more. And the question I kept getting was, is she Corey or is she Topanga? And it was Sean Hunter that answered the question. She's Corey with Topanga's hair. You're very lucky.
Right.
So we started bringing in, because we thought we did correctly and successfully introduce you guys to the girls. And all of a sudden, Sean came in, and I thought did beautifully in the first season. I always felt so bad about letting Lee Norris disappear from the original series. That Lee Norris was a choice of mine that I wanted to bring back. We're bringing him back 3 more times this season.
Oh, yay! I didn't know that.
And we're about to go to the table next week. As soon as we leave the festival, we're going to the table with an episode that leans very heavily on Farkle, his father, and his mother, who you know.
I haven't even been able to figure out who his mom
I
is
know.
yet. But
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we shouldn't tell people here.
No, I'm not gonna say.
Yeah,
Right.
Thanks.
No, I won't say.
We get it.
You know who she is, and she is, I will tell you, the least likely person.
No whispering, no fair.
She's the least likely person to marry Stuart Minkus. And,
Kathy Ireland? Is it Kathy Ireland? Okay.
Anyway, yeah, and we are bringing back everybody from the series. We just shot a week with Maddie Lawrence, and it was a wonderful week.
Yeah.
And Maddie got to sit down with Wilfred L. again, and we rekindled that. In 3 weeks on the air, you are going to see Sean reunite with Angela. Yeah, remember that moment.
Can I just say one thing? Yeah. I think that one of the things that we've heard from people, at least initially, was that, we want to see Boy Meets World again. Just bring back Boy Meets World. At least that was some of the initial concerns. But I think, as Michael earlier said, that if we had just brought Boy Meets World back initially, I think people would have been like, okay, they would have tuned in for a few minutes and then changed the channel to something else. As he said, I think reunions are fun for a few minutes. But I think what's unique and interesting about this show is that there's a seed of Boy Meets World, but we're showing how it grew, and we're showing what came out of it. And so I think it's just the writers and Michael and everyone have done a beautiful job of kind of integrating the old show with the new show, but also providing it, providing it to a brand new generation. Some of the messages that we taught in Boy Meets World were kind of, modernizing them and updating them for a brand new generation, which I was just going to say is it's such a totally different world than the world that Corey and Sean and Topanga grew up in, with texting and Twitter, and I still don't understand Snapchat, but it's such a complicated world for kids now that I think if we had just brought back Boy Meets World, it would have been like, what? But I think that the writers and everyone have done such a wonderful job of kind of integrating the two series.
Well, without comparing sort of characters and relationships too much, Corey and Topanga were sort of one of the first made for each other couples. I know people who use that sort of shipper terms.
Did you say ship?
Shipper, yeah.
Oh, shipper.
Shipper, yeah.
You ship them.
You ship them. Most people here, I'm sure, did.
Michael, do you even know what that means?
They want you to take the role.
But now we have Riley and Lucas. What have you learned from having a series-long relationship and sort of the ups and downs that come with that, and still having the audience want them to get together, but not doing it too early? What have you learned from doing that and sort of applying to perhaps their relationship?
There's only one Corey and Topanga. The point of fact is, unless we do this real, at the end of the day, look, when Boy Meets World was on the air, it was a hit show. It was not a mega hit show. It was one of the shows on TGIF, and it was successful. After it left the air and people saw the episodes a number of times, I really do believe that there was a fondness for how smart and real the show was, not just in comparison to the other shows, but just we go through these events and episodes that these kids went through. It's a tougher world. Ben knows it. We talk about it all the time. And how they can succeed in this world is with friendship and growth. And that's what the first 2 seasons were, friendship and growth. And I will tell you, you guys are going to kill me for what we decided to do with Sean and Angela. But I will tell you that it is right, it is real, and you're going to have to watch the episode 6 times before you put the guns down. To that end, with what is it called, Ruckus and Lukaya and Josiah and all of yeah, that's you and Josh, right? Okay, so with all of the relationships we're doing, there is a method to what we're trying to do. I have a plan, but it is through to the end of the series, and I would say those of you who are watching it, and I guess you're here because you're enjoying it, stay with it. There are going to be some radical changes, and all of them real. And when we end it, you will understand Belgium 1831. and you will see exactly what we're trying to say. Just like in Boy Meets World, which is, do you mean do well? No, I mean do good. We will do good for you.
That's so emotional. I'm curious for you girls, just what has been your favorite, thing about being a part of such a legacy for TV and sort of setting the stage for the next stage of that. But what's been the most fun for you guys? And
I think the most special thing, and I can say this for Ben too, I think, is that, we have 2 demographics. We have the kids and we have the Boy Meets World fans. And what's really neat about our show is that the Boy Meets World fans can now watch Girl Meets World with their kids, which is something that's really, really special and definitely unique. And I think that's one of my favorite things. Like, we'll get tweets like, I grew up on Boy Meets World and now I get to watch it with my 5-year-old. And that's so special and amazing to me that the show is cherished by so many and now gets to be carried on. Yeah,
I agree.
I think one of the things is that when we're reading these scripts that we get sent every single week on the show, we're kids, we're playing around our same ages and we're growing up every single week, and a lot of these lessons that are written are lessons that we're just learning as we're reading them. So it's not only a learning experience for everyone who's watching the show, but it's also us as we learn what the scripts are about, and
Absolutely.
we get to find out how really people would react in those situations.
And I got a 13-year-old saying demographics.
You touched on this a little bit before, but what's it been like writing teen girl adolescence as opposed to boys? Has it been a struggle for you? And as you said, everything really has changed in the world, and with texting and Twitter. Has it just been a very big learning experience for you?
No. I have a daughter who's
Hi, Rachel.
here. Rachel is here, and Rachel is a unique and wonderful person, and I was going to say much of it.
So cool.
All of what I'm writing is because Rachel and I have gone through it. I understand what is real about raising a wonderful and unique young lady, and we went out one night. It was you guys and Rachel, and we went out one night and we all went to dinner. Yeah, it was bag night. It was the actor bag night when we went out.
Right.
And the girls just fell in love. And the girls just fell in love with Rachel. And Rachel tells her stories. And I would say that without my relationship with her, the show would certainly not be possible. To write for the young girls growing up, as opposed to writing for Ben growing up, is radically different, harder, and I gotta say, more rewarding when we get it right.
Where would you guys like to see, if you were so lucky to have your, the show last as long as Boy Meets World, what do you see for the future of Riley and Maya?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd like to see Riley. I feel like she's such a person who like is a bit of a control freak, as you guys can probably tell. And I kind of want to see her almost have to really learn that, you can control to a point. And I think she's definitely learning that through season 2. We've done a lot of episodes where Riley kind of has to understand that she can't control every situation. I think something like that would be cool. And I'd love to see the girls, or all of us, go to college or something, if that could ever happen, but that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I think, speaking for Maya's character, Maya is like one of those people that thinks that she's doomed from the start. She's got a lot of realistic points of view in that way, which are kind of dark. But I'd like to see just good happen for Maya, because I think a lot of people, like, even because a lot of people compare Sean Hunter, and Sean never saw himself ending up well, and when he first came back, you're like, what's he doing? He's a photographer, and that's great. But I think Maya's got a lot of talents, and she's got so many people that love her that she doesn't realize around her, especially Riley, and I think she'll definitely do something with that.
I want to say one thing to add on. Sabrina said something wonderful earlier, which was that they're going through these lessons as they learn them on the show. They're going through them in their personal lives. But I think what's interesting about our show and what we're doing is we're also going through those lessons. And so even, playing a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I mean, the parents are learning lessons, the kids are learning lessons. We're all learning something from that show. And I think that's one of like the main staples of Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World and our legacy is that you're never done meeting the world. Every day, every time you get up, no matter what point you're at in your life, you're meeting the world in some regard and in some aspect. And I think that's interesting, and I think that's what people kind of, appreciate about a show like this is that, I'm a dad and I've got this issue with my daughter, and so I think there's something for everybody in our show.
That's part of the reason I think why Boy Meets World was so successful, is that there was a lesson for everybody and something that everybody could take from it, and a character
episode for everybody.
No, seriously, and I think that's what we're trying to carry with Girl Meets World, and that's what Michael's trying to lead, is that everybody can kind of take something, no matter who you are or how old you are. And I think that Boy Meets World really accomplished that.
We went to the table a couple of weeks ago.
Do you guys know what he means when he says we went to the table?
Table read.
Table read? Okay.
This is a very astute
I know, but I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. The table. The mattresses. Go to them. Yes, go on. Sorry.
No, go. You're getting laughs.
Oh, so anyway, have I told you about downtown Austin?
That didn't get as much laugh.
Well, if I kept going, it would be really... All right, sorry, go ahead.
I don't even know what we're talking about. What we're talking about?
I tell you, I forget the question every time you start
Oh,
talking.
we went to the table. We're talking about... we went to the table a few weeks ago. We were just talking about it on the way here. And they said, what are we going to do this week? What topic we're going to explore? What lesson we're going to learn? And I said, we're doing God. And they said, you can't... I said, we're doing God. We're going to do belief and what it is to believe in something. And we used Farkle, as the loyal opposition, as the scientist, and we used an event that happened between Rowan and Sabrina to examine the value of belief. And when we read it at the table, we expected that what was going to happen was that Disney was going to call and say, you can't do this, you go too far. What happened instead was we received a phone call that said, this is the type of thing that we believe elevates our company. Thank you very much. And we were left alone to do an extraordinary episode called Girl Meets Belief. And the episode came. A bunch of my kids are here. Danny is here. We're walking down 3rd Street in Los Angeles, and I found $1 in the street. And I bent to pick it up. And Danny says, put that down. And I go, why? And he said, that's somebody else's dollar. And Danny's 18 years old. And I said, no, it's my dollar. And Danny said, someone lost that dollar. Someone's going to come looking for that dollar. We're in the middle of 3rd Street, and the light is changing. I said, I am taking this dollar. This is my dollar. I will give this dollar to charity or buy you an ice cream cone. And so what happened is, I never forgot this because my kid had a belief. My kid's strong belief was that somebody lost that dollar. It wasn't recycled. It wasn't mine to find. We start the episode with that, and that Riley sees that Maya has a particular belief, and then it escalates, and then it escalates. And I don't want to say lessons learned, but the real human drama that happens in that half hour is so wonderful. And I feel so blessed to be able to bring you guys this kind of show with these people that I don't know how to answer the question in any other way than to say it's as if Boy Meets World, in whatever quality that was, never ended and re-began. It just simply continued.
Mm-hmm. For you, Ben, did any of those lessons from Boy Meets World really stick with you all these years later? Is there anything that stands out that when you shot it, you really sort of got it?
I always say when I look back on Boy Meets World that every episode kind of has, a special place in my heart, and every episode kind of registered with me, especially the wrestling episodes with Vader. But I do believe that, again, as Sabrina was saying earlier, I was going through those life lessons at the time as well, and I think that all of them had an impact on me and sort of helped shape me. So, again, I think that's really what's special about the show is that, we're talking about things that maybe some other shows don't talk about, and we're exploring it in a way that maybe some other shows don't explore. But I would defer to the girls and ask them if they think, we've already been working together now. When did you guys start? Well, November. November
2013. Yeah.
So do you guys feel like already? I feel like the show is, and you know what's interesting? Sorry, is that years later you'll have a thought, or someone will come up to you and mention an episode, and you'll go, "Gosh, I remember that." And these things shape you. And I think when you look back on your life, it's not like, oh, I definitively remember like this experience in my life turned me. There are those experiences, but I think it's little moments that happen to you as you're growing up that kind of determine and shape who you are. Anyway, I'll let you guys talk. Benjamin Franklin.
I know one of the lessons that was a main part of an episode was that people change people, and we find ourselves saying that almost every week now. It's kind of crazy though. It's really hard to word every episode's lesson within 3 words, but that one's always stuck with me because I see it happen in life every single day. I'm changing every 5 minutes. I think we all find new opportunities and we figure out new things and things that we never knew before, and it changes our views on things, and it makes us want to try new things, and life is constantly changing and progressing, which is why it's so good that we get to write this show. Well, I don't get to write it, never mind. But we get to be in this show because we get to experience all of that.
Everything changes except my hair.
No, that doesn't change.
Still
exactly the same.
Anything for you, Rowan, that stands out?
I don't know how many times I've texted Michael or went up to the writers and just been like, how is it that you guys manage to always somehow write my life as it's happening? No, I'll read the script and it'll be like, oh, this is literally happening in my life, just like in this particular situation. And it's really helpful, I guess, to learn those through scripts and learn those while acting it. Because it just, I mean, you absorb so much while you're acting. And I think our characters, like Sabrina said, are just changing and we're changing. And Michael's making sure that the characters change with us and that they grow with us. And yeah, that's
also the other thing. They're writing like for us, like you were saying, because even Peyton and Corey, who aren't here but play Lucas and Farkle, they're teenage boys, so obviously they're changing. They're going through things, and
even Augie's changing.
Augie's,
yeah.
Believe it or not, there's deep stuff. But yeah, and I think our writers are so understanding that we are people and we are going through changes, and they write that for us in these scripts. It's super helpful, and it's just really good to know that we've got great people looking out for us.
I want to make sure we have time for audience questions. I have a feeling there might be a lot. So, anyone?
Oh, there's two.
Do you have advice for Robyn and Sabrina as a former child actor growing up in Hollywood in the limelight?
They've given me a lot more advice than I've given them. But I don't know if... these girls are really smart and they're very accomplished and they're going to be fine. But I don't look at myself as someone who should be dispensing advice in any capacity. But I don't know. I mean, I guess in some way I try and just lead by example. But I think we have a strong commitment to their education, and they have wonderful teachers on the set. And in terms of their life, I mean, they've got wonderful parents. They've got Michael. They've got me. They've got great role models. They've got great friends. So I think they'll be great.
And just to kind of add on to that, it was really comforting, I think, and I speak for the entire Kid cast as a whole, I think, when I say this, going into this and knowing that Ben and Danielle stayed just wonderful, wonderful people, and knowing that we always had access to those people when we were on set, and like we were surrounded by such good and positive people, that definitely influences Serena and I and all of us. And so it was never anything that, anybody had to particularly say. It was just kind of knowing that Ben and Danielle were there and they had always stayed, brilliant people. And while you do see stuff about kid actors, going off the rails or anything, the media tends to not write about the people who have stayed really, really good.
We also have really good parents.
Yeah, and that helps a lot.
Some people are just not as lucky, but we'll be good.
By the way, their parents are in the back of the room, so they have to say that.
Right there.
When I saw Danielle at BookCon, she said that she was really trying to make sure that you didn't age them too fast, and I was wondering what kind of influence she's had on the show.
Yeah, Danielle is what we call her, Mama Bear. In the last episode, Eric is. Did we tell you? He wins. He becomes the senator from New York. Let me break that information. Yep. Eric Matthews is going to run the world. And you'll see that episode coming up. It's a good one. And I'm telling you, at the end of it, you'll go, yeah, this could happen, and he's probably a better senator than most. But and so his code name for Danielle is Mama Bear, and his code name for Corey is Underpants. So what happens is everybody is influential on the set. But I want to ask you something. We've been sitting here for 40 minutes or whatever it's been. Forget Ben, because you already made your judgment on Ben.
Don't forget me. Remember me fondly. Please.
These two girls, what you've heard, the way they speak, who they are, you cannot fool an audience. This is real and genuine. And we were lucky to find them, and we are lucky to be able to hang out with them. They are lovely people. And for as long as the show sustains, we will influence them only as much as they have influenced us, really.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. When I was auditioning, I thought that that's what they would kind of want is, Lucas to be the Topanga and everybody to be that. And then as we started filming this season, I kind of realized what Michael was saying is that you guys have seen Boy Meets World. And if we just did Boy Meets World, like Ben said, maybe you guys would watch for a few episodes, but then you've seen it, so it kind of gets redundant. And so I think as the seasons went on and as we started going through different episodes, like Sabrina said, we're just constantly changing and our characters would be changing with us. And so what once originally may have been more Corey has now bled into, Corey and Topanga with a little bit of Riley. And then I think the same for Maya.
Yeah, I think Maya's even taken stuff from Riley and me.
No,
I mean,
all
like,
the
we
characters
influence each
take
other.
stuff from each other,
'Cause we're with
even
each
in
other
real
every
life
day.
too. Yeah.
But like our breakdowns didn't say, Maya be Sean, Riley be
Right.
Corey or Topanga. It was one of those things where we go in and we read what's on the paper and we try to make our best interpretation of it. But I think we're growing as Sabrina and Rowan, and Maya and Riley are growing, and we're just kind of figuring out life together.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Are we going to see more family stuff for Maya as Sean comes back and he kind of starts to feel a little bit of a surrogate role as well, but with her mom?
Oh yeah, my mom's amazing. Cheryl Texier, who plays Katie, is like she comes in and she's
favorite characters
she's
we
one of
have.
my favorite characters in the show. But she's such a great part of it. And the episodes that we filmed that aren't out yet, like Girl Meets Hurricane, which is one of my favorite episodes.
She was just in.
Yeah, it tells a lot about that relationship. And then I think we're gonna meet my dad this season, but I don't know who he is.
We're doing something called the Forgiveness Project. Corey has Maddie Nelson is going to
We
write.
haven't filmed this yet.
Yes, Maddie Nelson's going to write this episode, and it's just such a great idea. I really love this idea. What happens is Corey gets up in front of the classroom and says, "Forgiveness is the word on the board. You've lived long enough that things have happened to you that it's time that you forgave something." And everybody has something that they come up with to forgive, and it's their project. Of course, Maya is confronted with, does she forgive her father for abandoning her? The answer is stunning. We will meet the father. And but the episode itself that says that what is forgiveness and do people deserve forgiveness? I don't know who else is doing stuff like this. And so it makes me just love coming to the table every week. But that's going to be a remarkable episode, and it will star Maya Hart's father. You'll get to know who he is, why he left, and is he forgiven.
Well, is that season 2 or is that more season 3?
We're going
working on-
back on the plane to shoot it. That will be in season 2. Season 2 is remarkable. We really escalate the series.
Great. Right back there. Yeah.
Okay. Is it on? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, hi. Hi. My question is, so what were your expectations going into this project, and how did it, compare to the reality of walking on the set for the first time?
That was good. Do it. I don't.
I've been talking, so I swore I would shut up.
Yeah. Shut up.
I don't know. The expectations, I don't know. I mean, I think our expectations, that's a difficult word for me, but I think that we hope to make a great show that had an effect on people and that helped people or inspired them or even made them laugh for a minute. That was my expectation, is to just do a great TV show. Versus the reality, I've been blown away with the talent of the cast, with the quality of the writing, with the production of the show, and it's just been a wonderful experience for me personally. And I say this all the time, but we're nothing without our fans and the support from you guys. And so I think that's been really overwhelming, is how enthusiastic you guys have been and how passionate you guys have been about the show. That's meant the most to us.
I run this little Twitter account called because I'm old now, and they
At
taught me how to
GMW
do it.
writers,
It's
follow it.
and I can't. It's like potato chips. I mean, and everybody immediately responds to what's going on, what they want, what
It's
they
like
don't want.
potato chips.
It's just amazing. And so every day I just read what everybody has to say, and the level of passion for these characters is extraordinary. It's the most rewarding thing.
He's
in
more
the world.
addicted than we are. We're teenagers.
No, but he's right. No, there's really incredible things. Like, people genuinely have grown to really care about Riley and Maya and all of the characters, and they already cared about Corey and Topanga, but it's nice to know that, like, the Boy Meets World audience accepts all of our characters and cares about them, and now we get tweets. Like, you know, just stuff that shows that they genuinely appreciate our characters, and I think that means a lot, especially for the kids and I, because, you know, we were a bit intimidated coming in because we already had a different audience, and so it's really nice to see those tweets and everything.
There's one girl who writes 19 times a day and explains why
She may be here.
Sean has got. Are you here? Are you? I can't say your name. I can't do it. But why Sean must end up with Angela, making the assumption that he doesn't, and why he has to. And I'm reading this, and it is the most compelling. She is launching into character psychology.
They're so dedicated.
And why
It's
this
amazing.
has to happen if the world is to continue. If you have this much influence on anybody's day at all, it's astounding. And we are so appreciative of the level of care that people have about these characters that we work very hard to keep that trust. And if you go to this, Girl Meets Writers? Girl Meets...
Is that what you changed it to?
I don't know what it is.
He doesn't know what his own Twitter handle is.
GMW Writers.
No, he changed it. Girl
No, I
Meets
didn't.
Writers.
No, that's what it is.
GMW
Writers.
Writers.
Yeah.
GMW
Girl
Writers.
Meets Writers. Yeah. It's not General Motors.
He just wants
right?
followers, guys. That's what we're getting at here.
He basically just wants you to follow him.
Girl Meets Writers. Read. Take a minute and read this. Read what people write.
Read what I'm writing. Read.
No, not me. Not me. Not me. I'm just.
can't read
I'm,
your
I'm, like,
tweets.
I'm trying to defend from
Michael
this
is more
onslaught
proud of his
that is
Twitter account than any
fantastic.
other show he's ever
No,
done.
no, they can't read.
Well, to that point, you know, social media wasn't something you had to deal with or wasn't an influence on the show the first time around. Because you are sort of getting into it, do you find yourself being influenced in terms of story because of what fans perhaps want, or do you try to stay away from it?
I wanted to get rid of it. So the first episode after the pilot was the cell phone episode, where Corey came out strongly against cell phones, and then Riley and Lucas finally got their heads off the screens and looked each other in the eyes, and Corey realized he created much more problems and then handed back the cell phones to the class. Yeah. I think we sort of got rid of it. I think it's false. I think in television it's false. This is just an opinion. The reliance on that lovely, clever text and then show the blue box on the screen, and that it's almost saying to you, here's radio on television. Because all of a sudden, isn't that clever? We're reading what's on television. And it's astonishing to me because texting is the absolute number one mode of communication of this generation. And what does that do to your emotional growth? Those are stories, yeah.
Do you find yourself, you know, when you read these tweets, though, are you personally influenced in the stories you write because someone wants, you know, Riley and Lucas to get together? Or now that you can get more face-to-face feedback directly from the fans, do you find yourself influenced? And do you girls ever feel like, oh, maybe that we should do it because the fans want it?
Well, I would be, but I'm spending much too much time on a Twitter account.
No, but I don't. I personally, I mean, I'm not a writer on the show, but I don't think you should be led by what people are saying. I think, I mean, it's nice.
No surprise.
But
Right.
it's interesting. But if you are led in that direction, if we were listening to that, we never would have done Girl Meets World. We would have just done Boy Meets World, and it would have. I think you have to kind of stay a little bit ahead of it. And I mean, it's important to listen to what everyone's saying. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
But I also think that if you are going to teach, if you're going to use the show as a forum and it's a classroom show, then what is most important, and it's what Belgium 1831 is about, and it's what the entire arc of the series is about, is these friends and the ability to go through emotional arcs with friends, feel one way about them, and then another way the next day. This is real life. How do we do it? Because we're losing the ability to do it normally if we rely on people literally reading our thoughts as opposed to looking at our eyes and reading how we feel.
We have time for a few more. All the way in the back.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey. Hello. Hello.
We see you.
As an 80s kid, I grew up with Boy Meets World, so I know I'm comfortable with that show. And now watching the so now watching the girls and their lives now, it's so different from when I grew up.
Right.
But I want to know the girls' take on when they look back on Boy Meets World. Like, do you see it as dated? Do you see it as like, oh, that's old-fashioned? Like,
What do you mean? My clothes were so hip and trendy.
Those dinosaur T-shirts were something.
Those hoods.
I was the king of the hoodies. By the way, and now hoodies are so cool. So
He was ahead of his
I was really a trendsetter. The big yellow sweatshirt with another sweatshirt on top of that, and then another jean jacket. I was cool. Boy, was I was always hot. No wonder. I was always a little clammy on set.
Now he knows.
Okay, sorry.
To answer your question, I think, once again, Boy Meets World, the reason why it hasn't gone off the air since it started on the air is because no matter what time those messages take place, you could put them in, well, I think you could put them in any time period, and they would still make sense, which is why I think, Boy Meets World has lasted and why these characters are so cherished. And I think we're trying to accomplish that with Girl Meets World. We're doing similar lessons, but with this time period. But like I said, these lessons can still apply to anybody. So I don't think we look at it as dated or anything like that. We watch it and we understand, why it had such a great following, and why it means so much to so many people.
And just appreciate it, because literally no matter how old you are, there's a really good chance you're going to go through one of these problems in your lifetime. So I think that Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World, it's just appreciating the lessons that they gave us.
And also, I think that's, again, what's unique about the show and special is that they are lessons that are, I don't want to use the word timeless, but, they're relatable at many different points in your life. And you can...
Timeless.
Yes, it is. But if I say our show's timeless, it just...
No.
Do you want to hang out with that guy? I don't. I'm on a timeless show. But I think that you can appreciate the lesson of the show at different points in your life.
Yeah.
So if you watch it at 13, you might look at it one way. But if you watch it 10 years later, 20 years later, you can appreciate it from a different perspective and maybe possibly get a different, a different take on it. So, do you have something?
No.
Next.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Hi.
Did you say Ben? I'm timeless. Yes.
So I grew up watching Boy Meets World, and you grew up as a child star who is learning the lessons, and you yourself were learning the lessons, your characters were learning the lessons, and you had these role models like Mr. Beanie and your parents. Now you are the role model of your players.
Isn't that scary?
What are your thoughts on that? How's it different?
Well, I don't think that I'm looking at Corey now as Mr. Feeney, although I'm starting to think that some of our younger fans might be looking at me like that, but he was old. I'm young and hip with my hoodies. But I haven't approached this character now saying, oh, I'm the new Mr. Feeney or I'm the role model or anything like that. I think I'm just a hip uncle. I think I'm just taking the lessons in the episodes that we're writing and working on every week and just really trying to do something good with it. And I really believe that the show is important for people and could be useful for kids. And I think we're talking about great things that not a lot of shows are talking about, and we're teaching good lessons. And I really am passionate about the show and passionate about the character. And I just like being the teacher and the dad. And I'm just really enjoying it. So I'm not really looking at myself as the role model or like the iconic figure, even though I'm timeless. But I'm just gonna milk that joke.
Yeah, it's over.
Is it over?
Get off that
Is
horse.
that it?
Yeah.
Potato chips.
But
Tweeting is like.
but let me answer specifically one thing that you said. There's an episode coming up called Girl Meets the New Teacher, where Jonathan Turner comes into the room.
He's not dead.
Watch Ben's reaction in that episode when Turner comes in. When Bill Daniels comes in, it's really something to have Bill come back to the series. But when Tony returns, watch the levels between Ben and Tony, because he becomes student. And it's really an interesting episode. And that will answer your question. What is the dichotomy between Feeney and Corey? But there's another middle level, which was Turner. And watch what happens.
Wait, time for
One more? There's so many.
2 more.
We'll stay here forever.
I was just, has the show been picked up for the 3rd season? Are you guys working on the 3rd season?
We are on season 2. We're in the middle of season 2. We will probably hear about season 3 in a month or so, but it's not time yet to be picked up. It's too early in season 2. We're going to do at least 26 episodes, maybe more in season 2, and we're at around episode 16. So we're a month away from getting any news like that. But we've been successful, and we hope it'll be a long, healthy run.
We could do more.
This question's for Ben. Was it easy for you to take a break and then go back to playing Corey?
That's a good question.
Well, I don't want to just end on me, but I will. Okay.
Even though you are timeless.
The joke's dead. The joke.
I'm going to hear it in the middle of filming next week.
I will say that I think initially I was a little apprehensive about being Corey, because I didn't really understand who Corey was all these years later, in terms of, is he funny, is he wacky, is he what is he, and now he's a teacher and a dad. And so I think at least initially, while we were in rehearsals for the pilot, I think I was a little apprehensive about how should I be serious, or should I be stern, or should I be goofy, or I don't know. But I think things eventually take on a life of their own, and I think that's just what happens with all of our characters, and you kind of get into a groove. So I was a little apprehensive, but eventually everything settled in.
Is there another one? Yep, right here.
Are we going to see Morgan?
We are going to see Morgan. The question is which Morgan, isn't it?
The one at the reunion, or?
I wanted to do this Olsen twins thing. Disney won't let me do it. I wanted to, every other camera cut would be the other. We are going to see Morgan. We're going to see her soon.
Right there. Yep.
Hi. Michael, I think you touched on in an interview before talking about seeing what Corey and Topanga did in those 15 or so years between Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. Are we still going to see that soon?
We are considering showing you Corey and Topanga: The Lost Years, but I have to tell you that what's important to us is the growth and evolution of these two girls. I don't want to say that Corey and Topanga are to this series what Rusty Russ and Betsy Randall were to the original series. I think it's a different dynamic, but I do think that what is important to realize, and Sabrina was talking about it before, the show's bimodal. We have two audiences. And I would ask for patience from our adult audience to understand that the really vastly important service that the show performs is an illumination of what this world is for the younger audience. And it is necessary. You're cooked. The very young people that we are doing this for as well are still in the pot. And I think that it's very important to influence them positively and correctly. The answer to your question is yes. We're going to get to it. But I want to get to it organically. There's an episode that will be coming this season called Girl Meets Cory and Topanga. A lot of that will happen within that episode. It will be this season, but nowhere near in the way you expect. You're going to love what happens. I just don't want to give it away.
We'll take one more.
What's the favorite thing about your characters that you play?
Okay. I guess it's that I've learned a lot from Riley. And I guess the number one thing I've learned from her is just how caring she is and how considerate she is. And how maybe she does get too involved, but it all comes out of a really genuine and just caring and supportive place. And she's totally innocent and totally just fun, and she cares about everybody so much. And I think that's definitely something that everybody can kind of take from, yeah.
My favorite thing that I've learned about Maya, and I say learned because I have learned it over time, is that she's a lot smarter than she thinks she is. Because I think everyone pictured her or thought that she should have been like, the dumb one or just the one that doesn't do good in school, which obviously we've established that she doesn't because she always says she doesn't. But really, she knows all the answers. She is very intelligent, and she's very much an observer of things and a watcher, and just controls a lot in her head. She's kind of freaky, but really cool.
I really, really am enjoying playing a dad, and I'm enjoying playing a teacher. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Wow.
I'm not having fun with it? I am. I'm just really enjoying being on the show, and oh boy, is that is.
I think that's our signal.
Do you want to say what your favorite part about
Playing Michael is?
or being?
My favorite part about playing Michael is coming to work with these three people and the rest of this cast. No. Because I've been on television shows where I say to my wife, tell them I'm sick. This is one where I am sick, that tell them I'm coming in. I just hope that we have given you something that you can appreciate and that you can enjoy. In the end, it's an entertainment vehicle. But in time, just like Boy Meets World, it became a little more. And that's the best thing we all can do and say about these characters.
That's a great place to end. Thank you guys for being here, and thanks to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Coming
Thank
for
you.
the first time and for returning. And thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thanks for coming.
Yay. Thank you.